We're here to talk about stats, the facts, and the rise of the green tide, the Orks GT success this past weekend, possible upcoming predators, and so much more. Welcome to the rise of the green tide. Whoa! Hello, everybody. So, here we are. As usual, we're going to talk about the facts and the stats. So, I'd like to pull up right off the bat. We're going to look at Meta Monday, and of course, we're actually going to look at faction by versus factions this week as we used to before, but now we have more data. We're going to go more into it because there are possible predators that are upcoming. So that being said, right here, let's just start with what we can see. Out of 50 players, Orks are at a 52% win rate last weekend, with a 54% win rate as of the 5 weeks since the data slate. And as their tourney wins, it's 4 out of 5 total. As for the 10th edition, that means post data slate, we had much more success than we had before. If you actually look at this, which we'll scroll through right now, Orks are about third in overall percentage win in the last 5 weeks. So we have Black Templars with 57, Chaos Marine tying us, Eldar at 55. Then as we scroll, you see Leagues of Voltan have now jumped all the way up to 53. Pay attention to that. And then we have 51, 49, 53 from Dark Angels as Gladius Task Force. And as you can see, we just stroll a little longer. Nothing else surpasses 54. So Orks are sitting in at least in the top 5 if you're going to count ties and such, right? Which is good. We want them to be very strong. We don't want them to rise too much more. Otherwise, we're going to start getting hit with a nerf hammer. If we do rise, though, as we suspect we will, and some of this we're looking at this weekend will tell us we are still rising. We're still doing good. And even for some of our, as I said, predators. So we'll go factions versus factions here, right? If you haven't seen this before, I'll pull up the dates. You can see 9/15 to 10/23, last 5 weeks since the post data slate. We're looking at how do Orks actually fare against other factions directly, right? So before Custodes, we would get dogpile destroyed on, right? We were sitting at a 20% win rate or less. You see it's just swapped on its head. And the guard matchup has now become problematic. So we used to have a winning rate into guard, but it was still only about maybe 60 or 53%, something between there would fluctuate. But 34% is a big deal. And there's several reasons for this. One, the fact that they can keep regenning certain units, pretty much battle line, and some of their scout sentinels or their armored sentinels, they're getting those seeker missile destroyers, those missiles, killer missiles back from the regen. The fact that they have damage 3, flat damage 3 indirect, the fact that their tanks, what they typically lack against other factions is the fact that they don't have a lot of AP. But going into Orks, that's not a problem. We don't take really great armor saves. So them having only a little bit of AP, but good strength, good damage is still enough to sway that damage into Orks. The fact that they're going to screen you with units that are going to continuously come back while they do a fixed secondary in the middle of the table, and use their scions for running around in different places and bring them back if they have to. Astra Militarum is becoming a problematic thing for the Orks. Now, if we keep going here, you can see the Death Guard. So Death Guard was actually predicted to be one of our problematic matchups by me because the fact that they have built-in defensive capabilities into melee, the fact that they have good armor saves, the fact that they have cheap units across the board that they can actually match us and start trying to get into the mid-table. Their indirect fire from their Plague Burst crawlers. Morty is a problem by himself to bring down reliably. So overall, it's something that we can see as a problem with Death Guard, and it needs to be paid attention to. They're going to make you -1 to hit as well. They can destroy your OC. They can make your armor saves worse. All of that becomes an issue when you're talking about Orks and possible ways we can deal with them. And we'll talk more, we'll elaborate more on that as we continue. I'm not going to get stuck on just one thing. We're just here to present the problem and talk about it as a community and possible solutions, right? So then that being said, we have, again, you can see now Grey Knights is something that caught me off guard. As normally we would be okay into them as we can just occupy the whole table and really stop them from scoring, screening them out so they're not just taking over the mission as they can. But since Ork lists are kind of changing, as we've seen, as we've gone over these different lists every week, I can see them having some harder matchup as some of the Ork profiles are getting smaller, as in like they're would they take up occupation of the field. Maybe they'll bring just a couple big units and such. So Grey Knights can still beat you, but they're really just playing the mission. That's like the movement game if you're playing into Grey Knights. Leagues of Voltan not catching anybody off guard, as we know they're just a strong faction as a whole right now. So they have this odd toughness across the board with their T6 infantry, their land raiders, their Sagittars. You're not going to reliably cut through all of that, considering they're also cheap. They have access to armor of contempt. So if you do want to destroy some of their 2-up armor save units, it's very unreliable. And they're one of those armies that they can put the volume of fire into you that actually takes you out as an orc player because you're not taking amazing saves the whole game. They're countering Artist Nails with their ability to get +1 to hit, +1 to wound. And they actually even have a little bit of punching potential. So those units that they do find problematic, they couldn't finish off, they can actually get into fights with you. Coming off the side of the table with the reliable damage as well is just really annoying for orcs to have to deal with, especially in certain builds that we have. And then last but not least that I wanted to point out was Tyranids. And that's just something that you're going to see is, to be expected as a faction that got a new book, right? Me myself fell victim to that, is that you don't really know exactly all the rules when you're going into the new different detachments that there are. And so orc players can drop games like that. They're coming up with all these different lists that you're seeing constantly. The Tyranid game is still evolving. You're seeing some lists with a bunch of Norns. You're seeing some lists with a bunch of infiltration units that are just trying to early board score on you and then get tabled, but it's fine because they got you behind enemy lines so often and still scored in the middle of the table. Or they're just saying, I'm going to pick 1, 2, 3 objectives and sit there with Norns and stat check you. So there's ways that it sways, that it can be hard. And if, the orc list isn't prepared maybe for all Norns, you can lose but you could have actually beat the Vanguard and so on. So there's things to bring out. So what I wanted to point out, Tyranids, Leagues of Voltan, slightly Grey Knights, but I think that can change easily. Death Guard, and Astra Militarum. And then I see this Adeptus Mechanicus, but that's out of 30 games. We're not going to really hone in on that right now, right? So those are the possible new problematic factions that we have matched up, right? Because those factions, some of them were predicted. I'm going to take credit for all those things, but some I didn't see coming. Like one thing that I was wrong about is Tau. Out of this many games, 242 games, Tau we still have a 65% win rate into them. The T-Suns game hasn't changed so much. Necrons, that has still been it's consistent. We've actually gone up into GSC, stuff like that. So some things I didn't see coming, but as a whole, and Chaos Space Marines, right? This isn't actually one of our predatory factions, I think, because they're so elite, yet they're still just Space Marines that we can still crump them pretty reliably, but it can be a tough matchup. But something like Guard, right? 34%, that is going to be a problem. And people are going to be able to understand that the more you look into their factions. So we'll start off this week's top performing list. This is Jordan Salmon that actually got first place at the Couplers Melee. There's about 106 players, I believe. Because 47 were left, or 103, something like that. So yeah, he did a great. Oops, I jumped right over. He did a great job. Sorry, I'm navigating this. Did a great job. We're gonna just look at his list. We're gonna look at his matchups and everything like that. Before that, I'm gonna just take a peep over at the chat. Make sure everything's all right with chat. You get the whoa. All right. And then how to get my walls in, guys. You know what I'm saying? Nurgling's also a problem for what I've seen recently and how good they play. Yeah, the fact that they can actually infiltrate, become actual problematic move blocking little swarms, or they're going to stand near a Terminator unit, something that you want to punch from the Death Guard matchup, and then give them a -1 to hit. So they're possibly stacking that on you, making you -2 to hit near a faction that's all into melee. That's a problem as an orc player. All right. And it doesn't look like any more chats. So we'll just continue on with the faction. So right here, I already have his list pulled up. He did win all 5 of his games. Let's take a peep at his list. As you can see from the title, most likely, I'll just tell you right now, Kaptain Badruck's on every list today. Boom. So we got Beastboss, Kaptain Badrukk, Beastboss on Squiggoth, DeffKoptas, Kaptain Badrukk, Mazrog, Nabman Smashes Squiggoth. Follow me, lads. I like that he decided I got to get up the table faster, and I can understand that. And the Weird Boy, for obviously Weird Boy shenanigans, you want to score with him, right? Weird Boy might be one of those tricks that we need to start putting a built-in fixed secondary. If you're going to start playing the fixed secondary mission, I can see the Weird Boy being actually that unit for that as well. So we got Beast Snaggers, 2 units of Beast Snagger Boys, 4 trucks, 1 unit of DeffKoptas. Yeah. Whoa, DeffKoptas making their appearance again, right? So they're one of the only 2 units that have deep strike capabilities in our index. The other one being Storm Boys. The difference is that they can actually survive small arms fire. They can actually deliver damage 3 shots back at their unit, at whoever's shooting at them. The lack of them, their weakness is that they can't move through terrain like a Storm Boy could. And they don't have a power claw, I guess, right? So DeffKoptas, totally viable, totally playable. It's really up to you. It's a nice way to still try to stat check on your opponent. Hey, this T6 is 4-up armor save. I get covered, such. So don't sleep on DeffKoptas. Obviously, flash kits for Kaptain Badrukk, 2 units of Gretchen, 1 big brick of Squiggoth boys, only 1 small unit of 3 Squiggoth boys, and then 2 Storm boys, the honorary Storm boys, obviously for scoring potential. So this isn't very catching anybody out of the box here. We've seen lists like this throughout the couple weeks. 4 trucks is where I like to be as well. Beastboss is there because he's the way that you reliably punch out an enemy carrier vehicle on not wall turn sometimes as well. And then he helps obviously compound with the Beastboss at Wapa's Kill Chopper. As an Ork, you do have to pay attention to I need ways to kill armor. Anti-vehicle, anti-monster. What I am surprised not to see on this list is the knobs. Knobs, I think they're still pretty serve their purpose, but let's look at his matchups and see if there would have been a reason to even have knobs. So right away, off the first game, boom, he was going straight up into Eldar. Imagine starting their tournament with an Eldar, right? So we got the Phoenix Gem to bring the Artarg Wayleaper back to life, giving you that CP, plus he wants to come back to life, keep him alive. Farseer, Night Spear, Spirits here for that, I think, built-in automatic 6, and then the Yering Khan. So pay attention if you're an Ork player when you're going against the Yering Khan, right? If they're going to try to put indirect fire into your backfields, they're going to try to throw the Yering Khan into your backfields, which means your grass could become the problem in that matchup, as they'll probably target them. So we got Dire Avengers, Rangers, Shroud Runner, support weapons, 2 of them, War Walkers, Wind Riders, and the Wraith Guard with the Wraith Cannon. Okay, so these don't actually have, okay. I would have, I think the melee ones would be more problematic against this list, considering we don't have the knobs to one-shot them out. But still, this is a very good unit, of course. I'm just saying, when I think of Eldar, the melee versions of Wraith Guard coming in is going to be the problem. And then you got the Wind Riders. Wind Riders are getting picked up by pretty reliably. So this isn't exactly, I'm not sure if this is the new meta, but this isn't exactly the known meta. It does have some of the great key pieces, such as the Yinkarn, but I'm not seeing that extra snaz on there that's really going to put fear in my heart, like Fire Prisms or something. So he ended up getting a straight 100 on there. He has 2 100s for the whole event. So he got a 100 against that Eldar list. Let's look into his second matchup. We have 3 GTs we're going to go over today, and then we're going to do an honorable mention to a 4th. So we have Chaos Knights. Chaos Knights making their way through the meta right now. Don't be surprised if they start becoming more common. And if fear need you. Okay, so we got the Knight Rampager. Remember, guys, when you're going against Knights, people tend to forget that they can move through buildings on terrain, and that counts for the big ones as well, right? The strat says you can pick up to 2, I believe. So it costs more or something like that. I have to look it up again. I'm having a brain fart right now. But Knights can move through terrain, which means where you're placing things and how you're screening yourself really does matter. I'm surprised he's bringing 2 Rampagers. Typically, just 1 is enough, but Rampagers on their own are pretty great. We got Brigands, Brigand. So I like to I don't like to play against them, but Brigands, they're reliable. They're hitting on 2s with long range meltas essentially, and their chain guns. And then for late game or whatever it needs to be, 8 OC. So we have the Carnivores, of course, just straight up Carnivores, and that's the whole list because he brought 2 of the big Knights. So I would like to see more. If I was playing Knights, I'd be scared of seeing more. But you don't see necessary knobs on this list because as we can see with Jordan's list, he does have enough anti-vehicle, units on this list. Flash kits can pop the ammo run, tear a unit down. You have Maz, you have the Beastboss on foot even. 4 trucks is not necessarily easy for them to destroy for utilizing the terrain. We don't know what the terrain looks like, but it's still not an easy game. I would like to see who went first. As an Ork player, I probably would like to go first in this matchup. So yes. He put up 95 points against that list, but that doesn't mean Knights are bad. So Knights can be a tough matchup, okay? Just so you guys know. So let's go straight into the Black Templar. So this is a faction I did want to talk a little bit more about and extrapolate. So as an Ork player, you must understand why Black Templars are actually a somewhat threatening faction to go against. The reason why Black Templars can actually become a threat to you as an Ork player is because how Space Marines have typically always wanted to play 40k is I want to shoot you and then fight you by association, right? Attrition. Kind of after you're hurt, after I've blown off 2 of your limbs, I want to come and hit you with the chainsword. I want you to already be weakened, right? The problem right now with Space Marines with the increased toughness, as they'll say against Orks, is that now we're T5. We get slightly better armor saves. We have more units with better toughness as well. You can't usually Space Marines run out of shots because they don't have as many shots as they used to, and they then want to fight you, but they don't have enough punches or reliable enough punches to actually kill you as an Ork player. And that goes across most of their matchups as well, as why they were kind of like whittling in the beginning of the meta. And while now Black Templars with their point decreases, you can bring enough chaff to fight with, you can bring enough shooting of Space Marine mixtures to reliable data sheets because it's that way to play. And boom, all of a sudden you have a Space Marine faction and chapter that's trying to can shoot you with the reliable data sheet known, tricks and trades of shooting, and then also have their reliable combat or throttling capability of combat with giving themselves that of going into certain matchups. So Black Templars want to play 40k how Space Marines typically have always wanted to play 40k. They want to shoot you and fight you to clean you up and take up more space on the board. So keep that in mind when you're talking about Black Templars. So we have the Kaptin and Terminator armor with the trends. I'm not even gonna read that. Sorry. Okay. Castellan, Chaplain Grimaldus, High Marshal Helbrick, and then a Judiciar. Judiciar is always annoying. Nobody likes being fought first. So we have 1 Intercessor unit, 1 Primaris Crusader squad, Land Raider with this is the Godhammer last one. Not as threatening. I don't think you're not really as worried about the Overwatch, of course. So we have the Primaris Brethren. While I'm looking at that, guys, I'm trying to get a gauge on how threatening this would really be. So Primaris Sword Brethren, like I'm saying, this is a unit that other Space Marine chapters just don't have access to. Okay, 2 units. The Redemptor Dreadnought, he's serving a dual purpose even more so on this. Scouts, and then the Terminator squad. And as we see, it's actually with the Power Fist. Maybe he just wanted more shooting. And I don't remember off the top of my head what their changes is to their. I think they changed actually in the codex for what their data sheet capability is. If one of you guys remember off the top of your head. So we're gonna see a couple Black Templars, and as we seen when we looked over in the beginning, is they're actually doing great right now. And that was actually his hardest game, was a 77, I believe. Right, that's what I just clicked. Make sure I don't mess that up. Yeah, that was actually his hardest game with the 77. So not surprising, as you've seen in other tournaments, or like we just showed you in the stats, the Black Templars are doing great right now. I think they have the highest win rate in the game. So let's go into his 5th matchup, which was Chaos Demons. So with the Chaos Demons, you just see Demon Prince of Chaos, Demon Prince of Chaos, Demon Prince of Chaos with different Nurgles. You got, marks. You have Slanesh, Nurgle, Slanesh for with wings and with wings. So this guy has just a straight Demon Prince spam. 2 Nurglings for the infiltrating, for just playing and being annoying on a mission. Plague Bears, deceitfully durable units right here. They're not really going to put that damage on you, but they are going to stand there and hold you long enough to be annoying. And no one likes to see that. No one likes to be annoyed. Well, I mean, we'll crump them as Orks, right? We'll just run right through them if we have to, but it's not as reliable as you think. Beasts of Nurgle, if you haven't played against Beasts of Nurgle, just know that you must kill them outright each phase, or they just fully regen. So, and they have a weird number of wounds. It's like 7 wounds, and I believe toughness 7, if not 8. So, so Beasts of Nurgles are great. Screamers, if you don't know what Screamers are, they're not really brought too often, as they're like these. They look like stingrays, if you guys haven't seen them before. Okay, and then and I'm not actually sure what they do in this edition right now, but yeah, and then a Skull Cannon, just for he probably just had some points left over. So this list is a little unusual to me, as I've never seen someone try to actually like bring so many demons on foot and with the prince of their abilities, just going straight off their data sheet. I mean, they are T10 with 10 wounds. They do have flat damage 3 capabilities. They're built up 4 up invulns. They have the ability to stealth people, and they can pop a once per game 3 up invuln. So the ones with the wings, you know, the Demon Prince on foot has the capability to pop the 3-up invuln. Okay, so that would, I can see why that would be more annoying. And then you, of course, you pick their a bit capability. So Slanesh would give them +2 to their move characteristic, and then Nurgle probably would some defense adds 1 to their toughness. So you have these dudes with more capability to move and some durability throttling, and they have flat 3 damage. So he's using them all as pretty much beat sticks for the most part. Yeah, there's not a really common list. I can see him catch people off guard with this one, and he's getting pretty far considering it's the 4th game in. So I'm sure he was just stat checking people with these small units that actually hide behind terrain, because the demon princes are pretty small and they're still pretty durable. So they're going to get out there. I'm going to pop my info. I'm going to fight you and beat you up. But orcs can handle that. You know, we don't have really that big of a problem against demons. So then we're going to go into the last matchup, which was his final matchup, into Dark Angels. Dark Angels, they're either going to play the I want to be fast and shoot you, I can fall back and shoot. I'm going to keep my OC because I don't, take battle shock like that. Or they're going to bring Terminators and try to reduce their toughness and occupy the middle table and fall back and shoot you. So, of course, they have the Bolter Discipline, Apothecary Biologist, Azrael, and then the Captain and Terminator armor. I'm smelling the Terminators here. Aggressor squads coming in. Be prepared for aggressors to obviously make their way up in how proficiently they're being used and how often being used with the new codex coming out. So that's not surprising at all, especially because you're just giving them well, you might not be even giving them Bolter Discipline here because you have the Hellblasters, and that's what to give them to. So you have the Deathwing Knights. Of course, they have the ability to reduce damage by 1. And they just want to stand there in the middle of the table, really durable. I want to see what happens with Dark Angels once they get their codex, and then are people going to really try to infiltrate with these guys? That'd be hilarious. The Hellblaster squad, that's just a reliable shooting gun line. They're going to this is reliable enough to pop a lot of big orc units and put the volume on them. So this is a very, very, very good shooting platform. But once an orc player gets a unit to touch it, they start killing them pretty quickly. That's just dudes on foot. But even if you kill them, they're gonna get back. They're gonna on I believe it's 3+, maybe a 4+, but 3+, I believe they shoot you anyways, regardless if they just shot, they just shoot you again. Or if you beat them up, they might even be able to shoot you again anyways. So you have the Inceptors. Of course, you always need the 2 Inceptors as Space Marine player, and then the 2 Infiltrators for screening, and then a Predator Destructor. So a Predator Destructor is just like a, it's not terrible. It's most likely, I bet you it has a data shade ability that he used so that he can actually throttle his damage or something, because they're not bringing that for its auto cannon, I'm pretty sure. So then you have the Hunter Whirlwind, of course. I can see people bringing more of those, and then the Caladius Assassin. So this, I don't think this is the final version of what Dark Angels are going to be, but this is very much so a good Dark Angels list, as it doesn't oversaturate with characters. It's right there at that 3. And it brings the shooting that it needs, the durability that it needs to hold the table, and then a little bit of its scoring potential. So it was a pretty excellent list, but he did put up 90 into that. So he got 100 into the game prior and 90 into that. So great job, Jordan. Whoa! So did us all proud for the rise of the Green Tide. So going into our next faction, I'll take a look at chat right now. But the second person we're going to be looking at is Tom Green, the second war boss, war chief. He did have 2 100 games also. We'll take a look at the 64-point game, see what's going on there and how challenging that could be. So let's see what's going on in chat real quick. Oh, actually, I think I've seen that, Omar, that I believe you showed us in Discord your medal. Was that you that showed the medal Snick Rat? That's awesome that you even found him, dude. And they're flying, yes, DeffKoptas are flying units too, but now how the terrain works is you have to actually measure as you fly over the ruins, right? Storm Boys are going to move right through them because they're infantry. That's the differences. Whoa, from Alaska. There we go. Okay. I was chilling right now. What are your thoughts on 20 boys plus Big Mac, the KFF plus War Boss? The big helps to get stuck in. Okay, so if you guys don't know, if you're talking about the Big Mac, just straight up do it on foot with the jetpack force field, right? I mean, sorry, with the force field on his back, just walking around. He's excellent for a 4-up invuln, and then I believe he could pop it again for a 4-up invuln. Keep in mind, it's only at range, but a 4-up invuln on a unit of boys that is not going to get hard as nails is great, right? So do I think it's totally playable? I really much do. Do I think you should probably still saturate the board with more boy mobs and different ways of durability, or the same? Yes. And the war boss is very much necessary as you're going to be losing models anyways. He's great at fighting on his own. So you need that boys unit to actually be somewhat threatening. Do you always have to bring a war boss? No. I'm just saying, as a whole, as we've seen, war bosses are worth their weight in gold or worth their weight in points. A teeth is the best way to put it. Whoa! All right, I'm gonna give me some more thoughts, guys. Give me some feedback here. All right, you guys are looking a little flat today, boys. But tell me what you guys thinking with this this kind of orc list we're going at, and what you guys think is going to be the new upcoming menaces. I showed you guys, you know, the upcoming possible predators we have. Did you expect that? Do you see that coming? You know, we'll start talking about solutions here. So let's look at Tom Green. So he was at, where is this, in England? And 33 players. All right, cool. Just wanted to give it a little peep real quick. Tom Green, let's take a look at his Green Tide. So right off the bat, we have Kaptain Badrukk. Like I said, he's on every list. Beastboss on the Squiggoth, Nabon Smash the Squig, and the War Boss with Follow Me Lads. So it's a very similar list, and this is actually what's this week's top performing lists are actually looking like. They're bringing back the Beastboss on Squiggoth, but you can see he actually doesn't have Adwapa's Kill Chopper on this one. He does have it on the Nabon Smash Squig, which is my personal preferred way to run Adwapa. But, you know, he still has Follow Me Lads on this list too, but he has it on the War Boss instead. So we have 2 units of Beast Snaggle Boys, 1 unit of Straight Boys. Flash Skids, only 1 unit of Gretchen because he has 1 unit of Lootas. Lootas, yes, guys. Someone performed great at a GT right here. I'm showing you again so you guys believe me. You believe me again. He brought Lootas, okay? And like I've said, if you know your terrain, that's why you shouldn't care so much specifically at what is the most meta all the time. You should take into incline what is on your terrain, on your boards that you're going to be playing at, and what you feel like playing. You see Lootas with rockets. That's what I like to see too. Why? How can you play Lootas? Put them on the table, and people always go, oh man, I don't know. You can put them in a truck if you want. But how I really see them being useful is you put them somewhere on the table, deploy them last, whatever you have to do, so that people don't know where they can be. But the whole point is when you see it, you want to put them so they can get plunging fire overlooking an objective. If you can get Lootas to look at an objective, actually oversee it, and get plunging fire, that's great profile at that point because now they're actually re-rolling the entire hit roll. So I'm not against that at all. It's just you really need to know your terrain and what's happening for you to be able to play that. Then you have this, what we call as the Scalpel unit. We've been calling it that the whole edition. It's going to stay being called that. Knobs are obviously always going to be there to power claw your problems away. 2 units of Storm Boys, followed by 2 small 3-man units of Squigs. And then again, we have trucks on 5 this time instead of 4. That's all good. So of course, Knobs, War Boss go together. The boys are on foot. The Flash Gits are on foot. And then he actually has a possible truck for the Lootas as well. Like I said, so you can put them in there, put them on plunging fire terrain, have the truck stand still, shoot them like that as well. Whatever you got to do, but he definitely utilized their profile. And that's great to see. We love to see that as Orc players. Let's see some Lootas. All right, so let's look at his first matchup. So we have the Golden Beakies. So this is a really tight list. Of course, I think the Blade Champion is still worth it, even though he didn't bring him. So Shield Captain with Ceaseless Hunter for the reactive moves Trajan. Only 1 unit of Battle Line. Okay. He brought the big brick of Custodes, Terminators. These guys have pretty much it all. They can fight really pretty good. They're very good. They can shoot with their small arms, and then they're re-rolling to wound most likely if you have a character in there, which most likely you do. So they're even putting good shots onto you if you have mobs and stuff like that. We have the Gladius Grav Tank, 2 of them. Very reliable shooting platforms. 1 unit of Wardens. Remember, keep in mind if you're playing against Wardens, they do have that 4-up Feel No Pain, but it is per phase. It's only that 1 phase. He's not popping it for the whole turn. Do not allow that to happen. Venerable Land Raider, and then an Inquisitor. So this isn't the most meta list. It's okay. It was round 1. So let's take a look at his round 2. This was actually his hardest matchup. And we see again the Black Templars. Is this a theme? This is a theme. But as you can see, Orcs can still win. Why is that? Because Orcs as a whole, we do great in Tabikis. We really do. The fact that most of the time Space Marines can't punch us reliably away. They don't have the volume to clear out our units enough. We are durable now to take some of their shooting, and then we close the distance and we beat them up and we crump them with just volume of punches. So as a whole, Orcs still do good against Space Marines, but Black Templars, like I said, the fact that they can shoot you and then make up for that with fighting does make them more of a challenge. So we have the Castellan with Sigmund Seal, High Marshal Helbricht, a lieutenant with the Predation Edge. Sorry, I read that wrong. And the Emperor's Champion. So that's very reliable there. Let's keep going for a second, though. We have Intercessors with the Primaris Crusader Squad. So it's a brick of just cheap, pretty much power armor, right? That's pretty much what we want to see. I would. That's you should always expect these on your, into the competitive Black Templar list, in my opinion. A Ballistalist Dreadnought. These guys are decent. I think a Lancer is much more worth it, in my opinion. But what do I know? Blade Champion. Blade Guard Veteran. I think this is most likely Judiciary's going, right? So maybe not, but we'll keep going. Eliminator Squad. Infiltrators, the Redeemer. So this is the one that you do actually want to be fearful of, as it has the flamers for Overwatch. But as an orc, if some of your units can actually really tank that flamer, to be honest. You have the Primaris Sword Brethren, followed by another unit of Primaris Sword Brethren, Redemptor Dreadnoughts, excellent in Black Templars, and then one Assassin. So this is very much I think, not, it's not really missing much. I don't think the Ballistus Dread is better than the the Lancer, in my opinion. But he does have, and he's a bit heavy on characters, but that's good. Actually, not really. I think I take that back. This is actually a quite good list. I'm gonna look up real quick on what that enhancement is, because I forgot it off the top of my head. Sometimes I get a little brain fart. So we have improved strength and armor penetration. And you get add 1 to the characteristics of the bearer in this weapon as well. So that's Sigismund Seal, or the Predation Edge, sorry. And then Sigismund Seal is, oh no, that's what it is. Yeah. Improve the attack characteristics of the bearer melee by 1. And when it's leading the unit, successful and modified hit rolls, 5+ scores to hit a critical. Okay, so he's bringing more reliable fighting as well. So like I said, that's what Space Marines want. They want that capability to throttle and melee as well as shoot you with the great Space Marine data sheets. Okay, so Black Templars need to be brought up on the lookout for everybody, just so you guys know. I'm not going to say they're our predator, but have a plan into them, know their strats, know their enhancements. So that's something that I'm going to start looking at too. Mostly for you guys, because I don't really have to play into them too much. So let's go into the third one. That's why I don't know off the top of my head. Ooh, but you should. Now we got World Eaters. So Angron, Karn the Betrayal, Master of Executions. Berserker Glaive's the one that just makes him super annoying for high damage and everything. And he reroll. This guy's a master of indirect combat with this combo. He gets to fight first. He gets to rerolls against characters. He has dev wounds. He gets a bucket load of fights, and then he's like 5 flat damage. Well, it's like 3 plus D3 or something like that. Or D3 plus 2 or something. So we have Jackals, Khorne Berserkers. The Jackals have that Fiono Pain. Do you have a Demon Prince on this list? No. Okay. This is not the most competitive version of World Eaters, to be honest, but we would look at it real quick. Khorne Berserkers. So just 2 big units and then 1 5-man unit. Another 5-man unit. So 2 big. This is just a bunch of Khorne Berserkers. I like it thematically. It's just not the most devastating list of World Eaters, but it's a very World Eaters thematic list. 2 Rhinos, 2 units of Exalted 8-bound, and then World Eaters Forge Fiend. I very much think the Mauler Fiend's actually better. Just my opinion. The World Eaters Mauler Fiend's actually excellent. So this is just a straight up thematic fun World Eaters list, I'm going to call it. I'm sure the player was trying very hard, but it's not, going to blow anybody's socks off, and he put up 100 points against that. We'll put up his last, 81 points, and so that he played. Oh, and he was against another Orc player. Whoa! So it was green on green tide action. So let's take a look at this Orc player's list. So he has a Beast Boss with Super Cyborg Body, a War Boss, and a War Boss in Mega Armor. And then we got only 1 enhancement too. You seen that? And it's Super Cyborg Body. Wow. So we got Beast Boss, boys, plus 4, 5, 6 trucks. So this is about a truck spam. Burner Boys, DeffKoptas making their way again. Burner Boys, shout out to the Burner Boys. 3 units of Gretchen, 1 unit of Mega Knives, but they do have the Power Claws and the custom shooters. Not my favorite. 2 mech guns, Rocket Truck Squig Buggies. I personally, I think they're totally playable. They're not bad at all. Most people have great success with them. I tend to not, but that's just me. But I think they're totally viable. And then the trifecta of the scoring potential for Orks: 2 units Storm Boys plus 1 War Biker unit. This is different. It doesn't have, the what I would call a scalpel unit for knobs. You would think you might want some more of those. It just uses the mega knobs for that. And the war boss, I think that's just not enough attacks. And then the burner boys don't really have anything to support or follow up with, but he's pretty much just running a different version of truck spam. And then a bunch of different boys. And then the war boss, just going in there with some boys and a beast boss. So really not that many characters. Overall, like, it wasn't a bad list because, like he said, it goes. It has 6 trucks. It's Ork truck spam. We've known that to be a viable type of list. It's just branded a different way. But good job to Tom for winning the battle of the green. So we got Eldar as the final matchup. So we got, is this? Okay, I thought it was Yanari. I was like, all right. So we got Death Gesture, Farseer, Spear Seer, the Rinkan, and Warlock Sky Seer. Rangers, Skyweavers, support. Okay. Swooping Hawks and Wraith Guard with the Wraith Cannons. Am I missing something, or are the Wraith Cannon like the new meta? I don't think it is, but we've seen that twice today. This is just a bunch of small scoring units, as he's hoping he can just blast you off the table with a little bit of reliable guns he have with this. I call it a little bit of, because it's just not as many guns as we're used to seeing. He does have the Incarn, of course, like we talk about, but as a whole, Orks aren't going to have a problem with this, because when any of our small chaffy type units go to fight any of these units, even if we're slightly diminished, we have the capability to just outright kill them. But they do have, their haywire cannons from their Skyweavers. They do have their support weapons, but it's just not like enough volume of shots really to just erase the Orks, which means when we do close that distance with our diminished units, we're still going to kill them. So great job by Tom, getting second place at the Bridgeton 40K tournament. Oh, and this was his list. Sorry. And then let's look at our third list. So this is Joel Davis, and he did the Denver 40K. So this is at 70 players at this one. Okay, so let's look at the placings. Actually, I'm going to look at chat real quick. See what you guys got to say. Actually, I was looking at this. Oh, there we go. Let's see what the wall has to say right now. Hey, boys. Lootas! Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm running 2x20 boys, led by Weird Boy plus a War Boss. I'm thinking of pulling one Weird Boy for another leader. Teleporting 20 boys is harder to do. Okay, and remember, the Weird Boy can be by himself too to score. Just keep that in mind too. He doesn't have to really be there. But I think that's good. Sometimes you might just want to navigate those boys to get into better placing and not necessarily actually try to fight or kill anything yet. Just try to put them somewhere where they hope they won't get shot. What's going on? We have a Black Templar player on our team, and I hope he's loving his faction because they're doing good right now. Assembling power claw knobs right now. Whoa! We call that the scalpel unit, boys. That's solving all our problems. Especially that Black Templar problem if it becomes one. Right? Running there with some knobs, you start tearing them apart. So Joel Davis did end up dropping 1 game, but as you can see, he had 6 games. So let's take a look at Joel Davis getting second place. So his first matchup. Oh, oops. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Jump to the list. So here his list. And again, we have the Beast Boss on Squiggoth. So I wanted to point that out again. Beast Boss on Squiggoth and the Kaptain Badrukk combo has been on all 3 lists. Yes, all 3 lists. It really did catch me off guard. I mean, we literally just did the Orks power rankings. Beast Boss, Squiggoth didn't even make it into there. I hadn't seen other lists with him really being on there, being very, very too highly successful. Now, no outliers, but all of a sudden, just back to back on this week, all the most successful lists have him. Also, we have another list but it doesn't have him. But for the most part, these 3 that we're covering do. So and of course, Mazrog is included in there, right? So you have the Knob on Smash Squig with Follow Me Lads and a Warboss Super Cyborg Body. This is a very good character, combination right here. Very durable, killing potential, and I like distribution of the enhancements. Only 1 truck because you need that. And this is what's going to get you guys excited. A Gargantuan Squiggoth. Whoa! Yeah, we got a Gargantuan Squiggoth. Second place. Let's go. Chester's. All right. 2 units of Gretchen, 1 unit of Knobs with Power Claws. one big brick of Squiggoth boys, followed by one small unit, and then only one Stormboy unit. You can't afford that many sometimes when you're playing with the Gargantuan Squiggoth, but he's worth it, you guys. With this T13, he has capability to be hard as nails because he's not a vehicle technically, so he can use that. So let's get on and see what he did with this Squiggoth. So let's go into his first matchup. I can actually click his first matchup. Yeah, Custodes getting crumped on by the Gargantuan Squiggoths. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh like that, but yes, I did. All right, so Blade Champion with Veiled Blade, Shield Captain with a Lars Terminator armor and Ceaseless Hunter. Veiled Blade, just I gotta look at that again, but it's like obviously it makes him better at fighting, but it's a very good enhancement. Guardians, big brick of Termies and a small unit of Termies. I actually do like 2-man units of Termies. People like to go back and forth with me on there. Like, oh, why would you bring 2? They don't do anything. They really do. Just 2 of them. If you let them get off, they get off. So, but also I'm a melee army, so I'm thinking like, oh, I got to go cover the distance on them and actually beat them up. So we got the Grav Tanks, Wardens, and then the Venatari Atlantis. These guys have free rapid ingress. That's actually pretty great when you rapid ingress a Terminator unit and the Venatari pretty much because they're free. It becomes like okay. Now all of a sudden they're occupying the table. They're giving me possible charges. They're going to get reliable charges on me next turn. So yeah, it's no joke when you actually have that to come in and it's just kind of free. So very nice. And then we have the Inquisitorial Henchman. And then for the Veiled Champion Blade or whatever, it's add 2 attack characteristics to the bear's melee weapon, punch per battle at the command phase, triple its objective control. Okay, cool. So he gets 2 more attacks, and then he also just triples his objective control, which actually does matter because it's happened against me, where he just was like, "Oh, I'm the last guy alive, triple," and he made it tie. Okay, so but still, Gargantuan Squiggoth, he doesn't have anything to. I mean, we do have sorry, I shouldn't say that because he did have the Grav Tanks here. Let me check again. He didn't have the Grav Tanks, but the Grav Tanks can still kind of whiff. If the Orc player goes turn first, he still has enough time to occupy, move up the table. He still has the knobs to kill and trade out enemy units. He has great potential to fight in death there. And then the Flash gets still can get their worth in. It's just for the most part they're gonna have cover and be taking good saves. So you still have to play the mission correctly. Let me take a look actually. Yeah. So 96 point get up on that one. That was pretty good. But yeah, sorry, I was just thinking off the top of my head. And you don't have anything to kill Maz and the Beast Boss at that point if you're just dealing with the Gargantuan Squiggoth. And when he does get into combat, he's crumping. He's crumping. He's a great tank shock target as well. So yeah. Great job by winning. Sorry, I was clicking the wrong thing. So let's get into his second matchup with Eldar. So we're just seeing all these Eldar and the Orc players just straight up winning. So and you've seen as when I showed you the matchup faction by faction, the Orcs weren't in a bad spot versus Eldar. So we can go over it again if you guys want to chat. Just let me know how you guys want this to go. I'm trying to make it a more different way to start one of those Wall Wednesdays so you guys enjoy it. Death Jester with Fate Messengers, Farseer Skyrunner, the Vizark, Yinkarn, and Yavrin. Sorry, I just wanted to say it like that. That's how they talk, Wave Serpent. So only one. Okay, one wave, so we don't see the 2-way. Corsair Void carried. Okay, I don't even know what's happening here. Rangers, Skyweaver, Walkers, Incubi, Ravager. Okay, the Ravagers are a great source of the light of the lances, though. This isn't the most, meta. Okay, sorry, I don't know how I missed this. Of course, it has Yanari. It has to be Yanari to have Yavrin in there. So, I can't pretend that I know exactly what Yanari does right now because it just skipped my mind because I've always seen Eldar. But he did do good into the first matchup, getting the second matchup, getting an 88-point win there. It's just, yeah, I'm not gonna pretend I know exactly what they do. I know they give you the potential to have similar rules to just the core Eldar, with their allies kind of adopting them. But as a whole, I don't know how that would go into Orcs necessarily right now. But I don't think Orcs have any harder time than they would against typical Eldar with that. As for his third matchup, everybody watch tonight. This is another Beast Boss list. Or sorry, another Orc Green Tide on Green Tide matchup. So let's see Beast Boss followed by Beast Boss on Squiggoth, Def Killer Wartrike with the 4-up Feel No Pain. Kaptain Badrukk, Mazrog, Nabon Smash Edwap Skill Chopper, and Warboss Follow Me Lad. So very similar, but the difference is he has a Death Killer War Trike. It's pretty much exactly the same. So Beast Snagger Boys, 1, 2, 3 trucks, 1 unit of Flash Gits, 2 units of Gretchen. We got the Scalpel unit, the Brick of Squiggoth Boys, and Storm Boys and War Bikes. Okay. As for this matchup, I'm very interested to see how this awesome matchup would have been. Even with this Gargantuan Squiggoth having its great durability, in reality, if the right Ork unit goes into it, like Squiggoth Boys, it can still crump them, right? And he does have Edwapa Kill Chop on the Nabon Smash Squig. This would be very much so a generalship on generalship kind of matchup. And honestly, I think the person that goes second has kind of the advantage here. So I would like to know who actually went second here, but that would have been really fun to talk about. But great job. It ended up being one of his more challenging game at the 72-point win. Going into his fourth game, it's into World Eaters. Fight me. Oh, you got crumped. You wanted to fight. He fought you all right. So we got World Eaters, Demon Prince, and more. Yeah, these is pretty much the 2 main characters you actually need. So the Helm of Brazen Ire gives him like a 2-up armor saves and halves his damage. And then the Berserker Gleave, like I said, he's the master of indirect because he fights first. He rolls against characters. He has dev wounds. It's like flat 4 or 5 damage, something ridiculous like that. So he's really annoying. He put like 20-something damage into any character in the game. So we have Jackals. So the reason why this World Eater Demon Prince is actually really good is he has an aura of a 4-up invuln from 6 inches. So he himself is hard to kill. He'll hide in runes and then string out his 4-up invuln. So you stack that 4-up invuln with the Jackals 5-up Feel No Pain. So you just daisy chain back to him and you have these great screens actually. 1 unit of Corn Berserkers, big unit, most likely pretty much to deliver just the Master of Indirect Combat. 1 Rhino. We have a big unit of Exalted 8-bound, so I'm not used to seeing that. And then a Land Raider, followed by Terminators. Okay, so this list was starting to look kind of fire, and then now it's kind of like, I'm not sure how fire that is. Still a good list as a whole, but this is where I said, let me see if we keep going. Yeah, I think having Mauler Fiends would be better there. And then 2 Brigands, even 1 more Brigand would be good too. But 2 Brigands is an excellent choice. So this is still a very good World Eaters list. No doubt about that. It's just not the best, in my opinion, as the Terminators aren't really pulling their weight most of the time. And then you're still playing that price for the Land Raider. So as a whole, as you can see, there's not enough damage at range. And Gargantuan Squiggoth's going to close the distance here, start destroying, getting his point trades worth. The knobs are going to scalpel out their fighting units, and then he just doesn't even have enough bodies to screen because he only has 2 units of Jackals and none of them are bricks, because some people will choose to make the bricks. So they're like annoying 4-up on 5-up, and it is very annoying. But either way, 100 points against that. Great job. Going into his 5th matchup, Cody Judy. Let's see. I don't know why I said his name. We have, okay, this is not Yanati. So we have Farseer, Skyrunner, Night Spear, and then Yevrin. So there's actually very light on the characters. Night Spinner, Rangers, Shadow Specters, Skyweavers, Warwalkers, Warp Spiders. Okay, so we brought back the Warp Spiders. This is really pivotal for the potential scoring. Okay, and he's, of course, I was feeling confident, and then all of a sudden he threw the Dark Eldar twist in here. So he has the Beastmaster, Mandrakes for the, skirmishing, Ravager for the lances, and then Scourgus for some more lances. So that's interesting. And then just some Beastmaster, probably just for a little bit of fighting here, and moving around the board. But not a bad, not a terrible list, I would say. It's not, I still don't think it's as optimal as just straight up Eldar, but people are starting to find a lot of success in running, the Dark Eldar. They're a little cheeky. They're pretty dang cheap. Some of them can fight a little bit. You do get pretty cheap lances. And as a whole, having a lot of little units typically is hard for other factions to deal with. You're getting a lot of activations and scoring potential, but with Orks, you're just giving us a lot of stuff to win skirmishes against, because we don't lose those skirmishes. But we did lose that one. You know what I'm saying? Because they're just too much points, too much points in general of activations against a Gargantuan Squiggoth, like I said. So there's nothing for him to really get his points return here on this list to really deal with. I still don't think it's the best version of running, and he had a bunch of lances, of running Eldar, but it is, a different way, because you get such cheap lances and then you get cheap activations. So that did end up working into Joel, right? As you could, oh, sorry, I don't like that. I was totally looking at the wrong thing. I don't know. Sorry, guys. I was looking at the opposite. He lost to Joel, but this could be what his, as you can see, it was a close game by 66 to 72. Sorry, my notes. I was like, I thought he won that one. But in general, it could have gone either way when it's that close of a game, specifically because of both things that were stated. He did have a lot of Dark Lances. He did have a lot of activations. But as a whole, Joel ended up win that. It was his last game. Sorry, I had a brain fart. That he ended up losing. And this is really what it was. This is what could be threatening to you, to a board near you, is Chaos Space Marines with their gun lines. And here he is, the Daga Daga Daga. All right, okay, I just felt like I had to say Daga Daga Daga. So we have the Chaos Lord, Chaos Lord, Chaos Lord, the Dark Commune, Huron Blackheart, and Master Possession. You don't really see Abaddon. You don't see Abaddon on this list, but you see him on a lot of the other lists that are coming out and being very reliable for Chaos Space Marines. Then you see, Black. Did I miss something? No, Master Possession. Okay, got him. Cultist, Legionnaires, 2 Rhinos, an Accursed Cultist unit with the Mark of Nurgle, and sorry, gotta look at this. And the Chosen, followed by another unit Chosen, 3 units of Chosen, and Possessed, followed by Warp Talons, Nurglings, Celiacs, which is a very a very fighty character, and then Blue Scribes. So this is just a very unusual Chaos Space Marines list. Warp Talons are making their comeback. They're just very, very cheap for what they're doing and their movement shenanigans. So you love that. Possessed, when they're unmarked, they can pretty much choose to throttle their damage when they go up to you, make a Dark Pact, and the Chosen can pretty much go either way. They do have a little bit of shooting, but it's not really that reliable for killing against orcs. And the Accursed Cultist. So as a whole, sorry, I'm just looking at this list. This list is just very unusual. That's what I want to look up. I forgot what Huron Blackheart does. That's what I was like. What does Huron? I was like, there's something weird here. Huron Blackheart. So Huron Blackheart's ability is, while he's leading a unit, add 1 to objective control of that unit. Okay, and he gives redeploying. Oh, he's a part of Red Corsairs. It's pretty cool. And once per battle, when the enemy unit ends a normal move within 9 inches of this model's unit, if this model is not within engagement range, it can move up to D6. So it's reactive movement as well. So he's a very cool unit, but he is specifically just a Red Corsair. So that makes sense why we're kind of like, well, I'm like, whoa, wasn't not expecting this. Coming to a game near you. And he fights all right. He has 6 attacks, a strength 5, -2, 2 damage. So, or he can just do a sweep of attacks for 10 attacks. That's interesting. So for this list, he just went for, I'm going to actually fight you. Oh, there's a Chaos Lord. That's who the other one I was going to look at. Make sure I didn't miss his capability that I'm over my head. Let's see, Chaos Lord. Is there any capabilities that you were executing? He gives you the free strap, but then besides that, he can throttle his own damage. So it's really about the free strat, which with all these different marks that you're getting on this table, yeah, you're going to need to activate those so that you can get, the throttling potential of either Slaanesh or Khorne, whatever you want to do there. So this was a very techie actual kind of list where you can't really just look at it and know exactly what he did. It was pretty much very matchup dependent on what he was trying to do between his marks and all his characters for street strats and his weird movement. But it doesn't really have all the daga that you would think that it would have. So this is just straight up small skirmish, activation fighting in reliable manner with odd, cheap chaff, which is interesting. That's an interesting kind of matchup to go into. I know I wouldn't have expected that. So yeah, but that was his last game, and he still put up good points into that, considering that you're fighting so much small units that have these weird, because you can end up giving them lethal, so you can actually tear down the Beastboss and Squiggoth and stuff like that. So in that kind of matchup, having more orc units that could kind of skirmish it out and win fights would be a better way to kind of have to deal with that. But as a whole, I mean, I'm sure that guy was just an excellent player considering he won the whole event. Boom. So I'll take one more look at, and then we'll take super quick peep at Brad Chester's Glory. I'm not going to go over all his matchups and everything because I'm sure he'll rather talk about it. But it's pretty much the other list that we've seen that he ran last time. As in last week, excuse me. Kaptain Badrukk, Mazrog, Nama, Smasher Squig, Pain Boy, War Boss. He did tell me that he's actually going to drop the Pain Boy and actually just bring another War Boss. I 100% agree with that. You need that to complete the Scalpel unit. 3 trucks, Flash Kits, 2 units of Gretchen, 2 units of Knobs. I really like to hear how he feels about 2 units of Knobs solving all his problems or not. And then 1 brick of Squighog Boys, followed by 2 units, and then 3 Storm Boys. So this is just this is exactly what he ran last week when he had his performance. He didn't do as good. Brad's now #1 Ork player, but you can see he got a couple of 62-point games here. So that's something I'd like to talk to him about as well. So let me see what the chat says as we're drawing closer to the end here, guys. Because I'd tell me what you guys think about what we just talked about. We're gonna go over maybe some of the Orks' possible upcoming predators, and things that we think are gonna come into the meta or less. So let's see what you guys got to say. Eldar are not as scary as anymore. They can catch a crumpin. Yes, they can. Exactly. That's how I feel about it too. What everybody's painting. I'm rusting up my trucks for the knobs. There we go. What I have to do is get my combat patrol a little bit finished as we're going to be recording our combat patrol. Just got here. What I missed, war bosses. You missed the top 3 performing Ork lists, in my opinion, as well as a bunch of Kaptain Badrucks and Beastboss on Squiggoth just running around and crumping gits, and Black Templars trying to kind of rise up against us, but they're nothing successful. Hey, what do you think of 10 knobs with War Boss and Mega Armor? You cannot put knobs with the War Boss and Mega Armor, but if you want to just say, like, what do I think of knobs, like the Mega Knobs with a War Boss and Mega Armor, that's good. War Boss and Mega Armor, it's like I said, though, here's the thing, right? These are 2 different reasons why they're good. The knob plus War Boss is called our Scalpel unit for a reason, because it's a diverse unit that has the capability to really gut out that problematic unit that your enemy is going to bring to you. It has the AP, it has the volume, and it has the multi-damage attacks that we lack right now in Orks as a whole. Plus the War Boss giving his other bucket load of dice on the WAAAGH, and the fact that he gives them the +1 to hit, because right now they hit on 4s. You add Unbridled Carnage to that, and those 49 attacks, it gets kind of ridiculous at that point, to where, hey, even if I'm wounding you on 5s, I have potential to really tear down that unit or take a chunk out. And if you don't shoot me away because I'm built in -1 to wound, I can possibly still fight in death with what's left of them. Now, the reason why the Mega Knobs and War Boss and Mega Armor are still good, but just different, is they do not have that volume. They don't have any capability to get to that volume. What they do have in return is great strength, because I would consider running them in dual kill saws if you're going to run Mega Knobs. Yes, I understand they only have 2 attacks. Mathematically, you are still hitting. I know you're hitting on 4s, but when you have sustained 6s, you're still really, really likely to still hit at least still on 4s, meaning that even if the dice sway, you're going to at least get your reliable half of whatever you rolled, if not a little bit more for sustained 6s, right? So almost mathematically hitting on 3s. But the flat -3 AP is going to catch people off guard. The high strength, and then you're re-rolling the wound roll because it's twin linked, matters a lot, because now you have reliable wound rolls. So you don't have the reliable hit rolls, but you have the reliable wound rolls. At that point, you're still reliably chipping down anything that you get stuck in with, right? Them being T6 and having a great armor save, possible hard as nails, makes them hard to kind of trade out of there. So really, they're acting more of a maybe an anvil, maybe they're a bait for a counter charge, maybe they're just charging something that's in the middle of the table that you have to get rid of and you need the high strength, compared to the knobs that are getting out of the truck, working their way as like they've been setting up multiple turns to really get into maybe that unit of Terminators that you really have to kill, right? So yes, I'm just gonna say yes both ways, because I don't know exactly how you meant it. Are knobs with War Boss good? They're excellent. They're my favorite unit. They're the Scalpel. As a War Boss plus Man's Mega Knobs good, it's less good, but still very much viable. But just keep in mind, you don't want to throw them into things that have flat damage 3. You got to remember that you want to stick to cover if you can, so that when they get hit in response, if you have Squiggoth boys on your list, you might not end up getting them hard as nails. So take that into consideration as well. And sometimes you just got to ride the dice, guys. As Ork players, we ride the dice. Sometimes you just got to ride that armor save. So let's see what you say. Ty's been painting Eldar on Instagram. I hope he comes back home to the wall. Yeah, me too. I hope he comes home to the wall. All right, guys. So with what we presented here, let me pull this up back up anyways and talk about the one little thing I want to mention again, is faction by faction. So as we see here, Eldar we do fine into, for the most part. Keep in mind, This is what I want to talk about in Discord, guys. This is what I want you guys to respond to in the comments. Talk to me directly, whatever you think. Astra Militarum. We got to start dealing with ways to deal with that. Chaos Knights. I think the number can still switch the other way as Chaos Knights are becoming a little bit better, but and Ork lists are not sure where they want to end up. Sometimes you can get lost into the kind of stat check into T10. Then we have Death Guard becoming another problematic unit with their indirect fire, with their entropy cannons, with their terminators, with their annoying nurglings, stuff like that, with their making us very unreliable to actually punch them. Gray Knights, I don't really, I think that can just sway based off how our lists look, but overall take over the table. Leagues of Voltan. Leagues of Voltan, how you beat them is stuff in their deployment zone. If your list has potential to close the distance with on them while you're still screening the sides of the table, because sometimes they want to come off the side of the table with their bikers, sometimes they want to just deep strike in and just gun line you off the table with their versions of Terminators. But as a whole, and we can't reliably kill their Land Raider sometimes. Sometimes a League of Voltan player might just take their version of a Land Raider, not a Land Raider, and put it into the middle of the table and say, hey, try to kill me. What's up? I'm an Armor of Contempt. And you're going to have judgment tokens everywhere for standing out in the open on me. And then Tyranids. So Tyranids, as we're kind of figuring out their detachment rules, they're kind of trying to find their stride as well. Sometimes you just can't build all the weapons for everything that you got, but you got to be aware of what they do have. Most of them are, not most of them, but some of the Tyranid players are coming in and saying, I'm going to pick fixed secondaries. I'm going to infiltrate, try to get behind enemy lines quickly, pressure you early game, and then be whittled away. But by the time whittled away, you're dead. Or they're going to say, I'm going to stat check you with the chunk. So those are the new, I wouldn't call them predators yet, but they're things to watch out for. Death Guard and Astra Militarum are slightly becoming predators. So keep that in mind as well. And I think that was important to kind of show. I hadn't showed that for a couple weeks, but I wanted to bring that back as a whole. So guys, if you guys don't have anything else to say, I think that was a successful WAAAGH Wednesday. We've seen how great the rise of the green tide has been. We're not in a dangerous place where people hate us and are, annoyed by our success. We are seeing a homogenization of the certain lists and types of units that we're using, as in beast snaggers are still on top. You're not going to catch anybody off guard by saying that. Kaptain Badrukk still where he's in a beast, so you can expect that he might end up getting a stat in the future, getting a point increase, right? So if you're going to use him, start using him now. Knobs, still very useful, still coming around, but it doesn't seem like people have completely found their way over to them. As the more great armor saves, I think, are becoming introduced into the game, I can see knobs still finding their way back in. Just happened so this week it didn't, but it's okay, because if you're running a bunch of beast snaggers and beast bosses and 4 feel no pains, you can make up for some things like that, right? Who needs to kill them if you could just outlast them? Whoa, his nails. But all right, guys, one thing to keep in mind is don't cross our wall, because we knock your teeth out. Whoa!